Hello, welcome to A Few Minutes with Jonah. I'm Buddy Pennington, pastor of Westville Assembly of God in Holmes County, Florida. Tonight's is part 2 of lesson number 4. I'll be reading to you from the New Living Translation from Jonah, chapter number 4, beginning with verse number 5. Allow me to do that for you now. Then Jonah went out to the east side of the city and made a shelter to sit under as he waited to see what would happen to the city. And the Lord God arranged for a leafy plant to grow there, and soon it spread its broad leaves over Jonah's head, shading him from the sun. This eased his discomfort, and Jonah was very grateful for the plant. But God also arranged for a worm. The next morning at dawn, the worm ate through the stem of the plant so that it withered away. And as the sun grew hot, God arranged for a scorching east wind to blow on Jonah. The sun beat down on his head until he grew faint and wished to die. "Death is certainly better than living like this," he exclaimed. Now, this particular part of our study about the life of Jonah, we want to take a look at Jonah's reactions to two things that happened to him after he found out that God was considering sparing the city of Nineveh because they had repented. He built a shelter out on the outskirts of the city and sat down to wait to see what was going to happen. And while he was waiting on what God would do, God sent a blessing to him in the form of a leafy plant. The King James Version calls it a gourd, in which the plant grew up quickly and provided lots of leaves that shaded him from the sun, and he was thankful for the plant. But the next day, God sent a worm to eat through the stem of the plant, and the plant died. He also sent a hard, scorching wind against Jonah, to the point that Jonah felt like he was about to faint and wished to just go ahead and die. I'd like to point something out here. Sometimes, while we're in the process of living for God, and even waiting for God to do something like Jonah was waiting, we receive blessings from God. And we're thankful for those blessings. But I wonder just how many times we really consider where the blessings come to us from. You see, God sent that plant as a blessing to Jonah. And sometimes he sends blessings to us. Sometimes they're physical, sometimes they're spiritual, and we're grateful for them. But what happens to us when a blessing is taken away? In Jonah's case, a worm ate through the stem of the plant. The plant died. A hot wind came blowing on Jonah to the point that he felt like he was going to faint. God had taken away the blessing that he had given him the day before. I wonder how many times in our lives God has given us a blessing, and then that blessing goes away. And when it goes away, we begin to complain. We're sorrowful. We're sad to see the blessing go. How many times do we forget where the blessing came from in the first place? I would like to encourage you in this part of our study on Jonah to consider every blessing that you have, be grateful for the blessing, and should the blessing be taken away from you, realize that it is God that has chosen to remove the blessing. That's something for us to consider. You might say it's food for thought. And possibly food for prayer too. It's our hope and prayer that this study will be a blessing to you, one of those blessings that can come to you from God because it's made available to you. I encourage you to share links to these videos with people that you know, that you think will enjoy them. I also would encourage you to visit our Facebook page, which is Westville AG at 2513 Cypress Street. May God richly bless you until the next time that we get together for A Few Minutes with Jonah as we conclude this study on this Old Testament prophet. Until next time.